Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. It's Servey here, and today I am finally doing an updated PvP guide for Season 4 Dragonflight. I've been asked by so many of you guys to do an updated guide, so here I am, and this isn't going to be a quick guide, it's going to be an in-depth guide, and I am confident that if you follow this guide, you will reach your rating goals. I'm going to be going through talents, PvP talents, stat priority, tier gear, healing rotation, damage rotation, Weakauras, macros, add-ons, even my UI. I'm going to be going through everything you could possibly need to push rating as a Holy Priest in Season 4. For those of you that don't know me, just to give myself a little bit of credibility, I am a multi-gladiator Holy Priest, and I am rank 1 in solo shuffle. As you can see, I got the title last season, and I'm currently in the top 100 players in the PvP bracket. So I'm confident that I know what I'm talking about, and I think I could give you guys some really valuable advice, which might be of use to you. So I'm going to dive straight into it, and I'm going to start off with looking at the talents. The talents have changed since my first guide, and the main change, if you have watched that guide as well, is that I don't play Epiphany and Say Your Prayers anymore, and I do actually play Lightwell since it got buffed. I was a bit skeptical when it got buffed as to whether it would be good or not, because I thought I really loved Prayer of Mending and this build, but upon lots and lots of testing, it is just too good to not play, especially when you're in crowd control and it just does passive healing. It can really save you in some situations. So yeah, I play Lightwell pretty much every game now. But yeah, that's pretty much the main change. Also, I don't play mind games anymore because in Season 4 Dragonflight, every game is about damage, and you want to be doing the most possible healing that you can. And I feel like when I do a lot of life swaps or void shifts, having this extra shield to protect me could be the reason that I save my trinket, and that could be a game-winning play. So I really like Light's Inspiration and Angelic Bulwark. I play that pretty much every game. So yeah, these are the talents that I play more or less every game. The only ones that really swap out is whether I play stun or incap, but I find myself playing stun pretty much every game these days. That's said, I haven't been playing that much RMP. Obviously, if you're playing RMP, you'll be playing incap. Well, actually, that's not necessarily true. If you're playing an assassination rogue, you always want to be playing stun because you don't want to incap someone and remove bleeds. But obviously, if you're a sub rogue or an outlaw, you want to be playing incap. And yeah, on the left side, it's pretty much the same as it was before. The talents I swap out and change every game is Inspiration, Mental Agility, Move with Grace, Improved Purify, Void Tendrils and Sheer Terror, and Protective Light, and also Spell Warding as well. These are the talents that I switch out, and the ones that I remove are these three. I always play at least one of these, because you need to, but also almost in every situation, one of these is very valuable. And this is a pretty good setup. You want to be playing Mood of Grace versus every rogue and Windwalker, because obviously when they do their stun goes, you want to be able to grip it. And if you have a shorter leap of faith, you have more chances of gripping Smoke Bomb. Mental Agility, you want to be playing this versus comps where you're going to be purging a lot, or also when you're going to be dispelling a lot. Say you're facing a double caster and you're playing Purification, so you have 2 dispels. You want to be playing this so that it is less mana. If you're going to be trained, you want to be playing Protective Light. If you're facing a Shadow Priest, you want to be playing Improved Purify. And also, if you are facing a Mage Cleave, where it's only magic damage, you want to be playing Spell Warding as well. Yeah, that pretty much wraps up talents. I'm not going to go into detail about each specific talent because you can read those and kind of get an idea of what the spells do. Everything is pretty basic, to be honest. But when I go over the healing and damage rotation later, I will talk about the talents which are relevant then. Okay, back to PvP talents. I play Spirit of the Redeemer and Seraphic Crescendo every game. Literally every game. I never spec out of these two. It's just too good to go into Spirit and him. You don't really want to be switching these out. Very niche scenarios you can, but only in like top high level play it could be good. I really would recommend you just have these by default. Phase Shift, however, this is your talent where you can swap around. I play Phase Shift probably about 7 out of 10 times. And whenever I'm not playing Phase Shift, I will be playing Purification. Say you're facing a Shadow Priest, as long as they're not with an Affliction Warlock. If they're with an Affliction Warlock, you don't want to be playing Purification because you can't dispel versus UA. But if you're facing a Shadow Priest with literally any other DPS, you want to be playing Purification and then Impute Purify, and you want to be literally spam dispelling the whole game, and then the Shadow Priest will do no damage and you'll win. But also, if you're facing like a Mage Lock team, you want to be playing Purification because they're going to be fearing and polying your DPS a lot, so you want to be able to dispel it efficiently. But yeah, I play phase shift most of the time. I'm not saying that the other talents aren't viable. You can play Ray of Hope if you like playing with Ray of Hope. A lot of priests do. I did play it in season 1, but I don't play it anymore. I just think phase shift is so much better, in my opinion. You could play Fort Still. This is good in niche scenarios. If you Fort Still a Resto Druid, it takes away rejuvenation. Or if you Fort Still a Disc Priest, it takes away penance. Or if you Fort Still a Shadow Priest, it takes away vampiric touch. So there is a lot of outplay potential with Fort Still. I actually was queuing double priest, so I was Holy Priest and I had my Shadow Priest friend. And whenever we faced a Resto Druid, we would both play Fort Still, and it doesn't DR. So I would Fort Still him, and then 20 seconds later, my Shadow Priest would Fort Still him as well. So we have 40 seconds of not being able to cast Rejuvenation, and we were just purging the whole time. So that was quite fun. But in reality, it's not that great, and probably Phase Shift or Purification would be better. Sanctified Ground, even this could be good if you're playing with like a Feral Druid maybe, and he has a lot of kicks and he wants a Cyclone. You could just Sanctify on him and then he'll be able to free cast. But I would not play that. If I were you, Phase Shift, Purification, that's pretty much it. And if you are facing a comp where you're dying a lot and you've exhausted every possibility for talents, then maybe you could play Divine Ascension, and that will be a good way to keep you alive for a bit longer. So in terms of gear, you want to be stacking Mastery Versa. So you want to be getting every piece of Versa Mastery on it that you can. I do play Forset and I don't play with the chest. Forset is incredibly important. So for those of you that don't know anything about the tier set, the second tier set basically means whenever you use a Serenity or a Sanctify, then your target will get Renew on them for a few seconds. And also you'll be playing Benediction. So when you cast Prayer of Mending, your teammates will get a chance to get Renew. And then your Forset basically makes it every Renew tick gets a chance to proc. And with that proc, you can get a free Serenity charge, and that can stack up to 2 times. So that's really important because it basically means you're going to be getting more Serenities out, which is your biggest heal by far. So yeah, you want to be getting Versa Mastery on every piece. With crafted gear, you want to be getting Blue Dragon Souls and Impurus Binding Belt. These just give you flat intellects, really good. I was playing with precog, but you don't actually really need precog, I've discovered. So these two are just a must, and it's going to be increasing your healing by a lot. In terms of like PvE gear, I do have the Seal of Filial Duty, which gives you a fat mastery stat. The on use is actually useless. As Holy Priest, you don't deal any fire damage, but I am playing with this just for the mastery buff. And as you can see, I haven't really been grinding Mythic Plus on this priest, but I will do that at some point. So yeah, this is my gear, but I will leave a link to my armory in the description so you can have a look at my gear and copy it piece to piece. I will just say though that Conquest Cap has only been released, so this probably will change over the next weeks. So make sure to keep looking at my armory or check PvPing me to see what gear I'm using, and then obviously you can copy based off that as well. Alternatively, I do stream on Twitch, so you can come into my chat when I'm live and ask me any questions you want then. Okay, now I'm going to go over the healing rotation. So healing rotation as Holy is relatively simple. So what you want to be doing is you want to first place a light well in the center of the arena. I've just placed one here. And then you want to be putting Renew on everyone. And the reason you want to be putting Renew on everyone before the game even starts is because you want to be fishing for your Forset procs. As you can see, I've got one here in the middle of my screen. I've got to tell me when to show me. And that basically means I can Serenity and it will not take away a charge. And I just got another proc, so I can Serenity again, and it's just 3 Serenities. So you want to be putting Renew on everyone to try and fish for these procs. And then you want to be casting Prayer of Mending. You want to be using Serenity when they get to about 50-60% health. And then when you have no Serenities, you want to be flash healing and Prayer of Mending. And you want to be flash healing to get back your Serenities. And say the damage is too much, you want to be Apotheosis, Serenity, flash heal, get as many flash heals as you can during Serenity because it resets it super quick. Flash heal, Prayer of Mending, Serenity, you get the gist. And you could do this with Chastise as well. So say if you're playing really offensive and you got a stun for someone, you could Chastise, Apotheosis, Chastise someone else, Holy Fire twice, Holy Fire another time, you got a third Chastise, and you can keep resetting your Chastise as well. So it also works offensively as well as defensively. A couple extra things about your rotation is obviously Power Word Life. You want to be using this whenever your target is below 35% health. This is a really huge heal, and it can top your teammates if you use it well. So say my teammate is maybe 40% health, and I know that he's going to drop to 35. I will cast a flash heal, and then I will cast it into a power word life, and that will top my teammate. It's really important that you kind of queue your spells like this. So whenever you cast a flash heal, you want to be doing a spell off it. So what I do a lot is flash heal into prayer of mending, just to save like a global, you know. And also with your guardian, you don't want to be using guardian with the intention of proccing it. So with the talent here, Guardian Angel, it says when Guardian Spirit expires without saving the target, it's reduced to 60 seconds. And you want to keep it at 60 seconds. Obviously, there are going to be times where you use Guardian because your teammate is going to die. Let's say, I don't know, you've just been cheap shot by a rogue and they are going your teammate and you both have nothing, but you have Guardian. Then you would obviously Guardian your mate and then you'd get him to full poly. And then you'd be praying that the Guardian would save them in this scenario. And obviously it's worth in that scenario, but in reality you want to be pressing it on their major cooldowns when you have nothing else to press. You want to be pressing it when they're doing unhealable damage and you really need that extra healing to keep them alive, but you do not want to be using it and then letting it proc and then just healing it. You don't want to be doing that. You want to be using it as a safety with like, if it does proc, it's not the end of the world, but I don't want it to proc, you know. And another thing to mention is obviously your Spirit of Redemption and your Divine Hymn. I tried to get this off before they can CC me when they pop their offensive cooldowns. So for example, say you're facing a Death Knight, they grip you, you can fade the blind because when you're getting gripped from A to B, it gives you enough time for you to press fade. And then you fade the blind and then you can instantly Spirit him. And then the DK has to pop because that's his go. And then you're not in crowd control and you can just spam heals. And it's also important that you use Spirit of Redemption early in games on their cooldowns because it means that you can get 2 or even 3 off in one game. And obviously every spell doesn't cost any mana when you're in Spirit. So if you're and a Spirit comes up, it can really be the saving grace of a game. You want to be spiriting on their major defensive cooldowns. So I'm talking about Incarnation from Boomy, DK Apocalypse, Serenity from Windwalker, Avatar from Warrior, Tyrant from Demonology Warlock. You want to be pressing it on these big buttons and very early. As soon as they press it, you want to be pressing it as well. So that is really important. And it's really important as well when you're in Spirit, you obviously him. You want to be getting as many flash heals as you can. So you want to be using a Serenity if you're at 2 stacks, and then you want to be flash healing as much as you can to try and restore your Serenity stacks. Another thing to note is obviously your Divine Image. I don't really pay attention to this that much, but whenever you use a Holy Word, you will get a buff where a Naru will duplicate any healing that you do. So when I'm in Serenity, I like to use a Holy Word to make sure that I have this buff up. So when I'm spamming heals, I'm also getting more value from Divine Image. In terms of damage rotation, it's pretty simple. So you want to be putting Shadow Word Pain in the kill target. You want to be Holy Firing Priority. That is your biggest hitting damage. And then apart from that, you want to be smiting. And obviously when you stun someone, you are playing Imperial Blaze, and then you get the next 2 Holy Fires instant. So you want to be using those on your target, and obviously Shadow Fiend as well on your kill target. Power Infusion, you also want to be using this offensively and also defensively. I always pop this at the start of a game on my teammates' defensive cooldowns. It's quite important for you to learn what classes work really well with Power Infusion and what don't. So for example, a Windwalker, they don't get that much value from Power Infusion. So you'd get much more value from PIing a Ret or a Boomy or any caster really. Okay, now I'm going to be talking about some tips that are really important in order for you to improve as a Holy Priest. So a spell that a lot of Holy Priests don't play, and I feel like I'm kind of really perfecting, and it's making a huge difference, especially as I play DH Boomy in Freeze currently, is Symbols of Hope. And for those of you that don't know what Symbols of Hope does, is that it reduces 30 seconds of a major defensive cooldown from your teammates. So it reduces Astral Shift from Shaman, Unending Resolve from Warlock, Parry from Warrior, Bark Skin from Druid, Wool from DH. It removes 30 seconds off this cooldown. And obviously I play with a Druid, a Boomy, and Bark Skin's a very short cooldown. So he can press Bark Skin, I'll Symbols of Hope, and then he'll more or less have Bark Skin up again in like 10-20 seconds. So it's really strong that you find opportunities to use this so your teammates can press their cooldowns more often, and this could really save your teammate in some situations. Another tip that I see a lot of priests or healers in general, really, what they do is that they trinket the first crowd control that they get, and then they continue playing, and then they lose. You don't want to be doing this. You want to be tracking your teammates' defensive use, and you want to be trusting your teammates to press their cooldowns before you trinket. And I'm going to help you with this later with an add-on which is called Omni CD, and I'll talk about it later. But you want to be trusting your teammates to use first, and then when they have nothing and they're dead, that's when you trinket. And I almost always pair my trinket with Void Shift. So that is really important, and I'm going to talk about it a bit more later when I go over the add-ons. Another tip is obviously purging. You want to be purging a lot versus some classes. I'm talking about Evokers, because they have that CC immunity. They get 3 stacks. It's really important that you purge this for your teammates so that they can get the crowd control rolling. But obviously, if you have a lot of pressure and you need to prioritize healing, you need to do that. So it's really important that you kind of find good times to purge this off, as well as keeping everyone alive. Also, versus druids as well, purging in certain situations could be way more beneficial than casting a holy fire. Say if you're purging and you get a life bloom, that's going to be doing way more damage than one holy fire. Another tip is with Spirit of Redemption. So when you're facing classes like Shadow Priest, Affliction Warlock, or Elemental Shaman, you want to be dispelling the first global that you enter Spirit. This is because you don't get any backlash from dispelling when you're in Spirit. So you won't get damage from dispelling Unstable Affliction, you won't get feared from Shadow Priest, and you won't get knocked up in the air from a Flame Shock dispel. So you really want to be making the most use of this. Not only that, obviously, you'll be stopping their damage completely. And if you dispel the first global and then you him, and then you can mass dispel, and then you also get one more dispel before the spirit is up as well. So it's really important that you utilize this. So a tip versus Affliction Warlock specifically, when they pop Dark Glare, that is when you should be spiriting and dispelling, because that is all their damage. Their dots are going to be doing way more damage. They're going to be lasting way longer. So dispelling at this time means that you're completely negating all of their damage, and they're going to be very upset. So that's how you should be playing with Affliction Warlocks. But also, a lot of the best Affliction Warlocks in the game kind of know a lot of Holy Priests do this. So they will be pumping their damage and using all their cooldowns, everything but Dark Glare, because they know that you're holding it specifically for Dark Glare. And there are some niche scenarios where you have nothing left and you have to just send Spirit just to keep your team alive. And that's okay too, because you're not using Spirit, but then they're also not using Dark Glare, so they're not getting full value, but neither are you. And hopefully by the time that you have to Spirit and him, because you need to, otherwise they're going to die, you have enough pressure to end the game quickly before that he can get a clean Dark Glare off. But most Affliction Warlocks don't do this. I'm talking specifically, like I faced Chaz GG's the other day in Freeze, and this is how it went. And we still ended up winning, even though I had to Spirit before his Dark Glare, because he held it for like 3 minutes or something. Another thing that makes a difference between good Holy Priests and bad Holy Priests is the spell Shadow Word Death. And for those of you that don't know, you can use Death to kind of remove crowd control on yourself. I'm talking about Polymorph. I'm talking about Fear from Warlock, Fear from Priest, Hex, Sleepwalk, Repentance. So many crowd controls can be deafed. How it works, you basically see someone's casting a CC on you, and you pre-cast death on them before the crowd control hits you, and then you will, as a result, take damage from the Shadow Word Death, and it will break the crowd control. So that's how it works, and it's really important for you to kind of use this as much as you can and try and def as much CC as you can. Because at the end of the day, if you're not in CC, you can heal, and if you can heal, you're going to keep your teammates alive, and you're going to win games. And I'm going to talk about an add-on later, which will help you a lot with immuning CC and defing CC as well. It's not only def though that you can remove CC with. Also, phase shift makes that your fade immunity for a little while. So you can fade stuff like Cyclone, Polymorph. You can literally fade anything in the game. And what I like to do, particularly against priests, is that I like to do a little duel, as I like to call it, where you kind of sprint in to the priest, and then you'll def, and then when defs hit you, you'll fade, and then you could fear after them, because you're both going to be defing and fearing, and you have like a little outplay duel. And then obviously whoever wins will get the fear off. So that's a way to use fade, but you could also do it against rep paladins. I find a lot of rep paladins will just charge at you and it's really obvious that they want to Hand of Justice you. So you could fade the Hand of Justice, and then they'll be very upset. And then you could spam Death as well, because chances are they're going to Blinding Light you if you fade their Hand of Justice. And then you could Death their Blinding Light, and they'll be really upset and sad. When you're facing a Mistweaver, or not a Mistweaver, a Fistweaver, you want to be playing Sheer Terror, because obviously Fistweavers, they play with melee cleaves mostly. So say if you're facing a Ret Warrior Fistweaver, you want to be playing Sheer Terror, and probably something like this. And you want to be playing Sheer Terror is because obviously they're going to be stacking so much. So when you fear, it will make it harder for your fear to break. And obviously if they're stacking, your teammate's going to be doing damage to everyone. And it just makes it a bit more clean and makes it more likely that your fear isn't going to break. Also, when you're facing a Beast Mastery Hunter or even a Demonology Warlock, you want to be playing Void Tendrils, and you want to be using this route on their pets just to avoid some damage. So, for example, when a Beast Mastery casts Bestial Wrath, all their damage, you can go fear their pets, and then off the fear, you could also Void Tendrils, and then they're doing literally no damage for the whole time, and they're very sad. So, yep, that is pretty much it. Void Shift, you want to be using this with your Trinket mostly, or if you're not in crowd control and you have literally no healing and they're going to die. So, yep, that's pretty much that. Okay, I'm going to be talking about add-ons a bit. So add-ons are very important. Obviously, you're going to be needing Gladius or S-Arena to track DRs and their trinkets and your enemies. But you're also going to be needing Omnibar. Omnibar is super important, and what Omnibar does, I'll show an example on the screen now. And it basically shows you the cooldowns of enemy abilities and particularly kicks. So you want to be tracking kicks, because as a Holy Priest, you're going to be using Flash Heal a lot to try and get your Serenities back. And if they have kick, you want to be trying to fake those kicks so that you can precast. And Omnibar is a way where you can track those kicks and to see whether they have kick or whether they don't have kick, whether it's safe to cast, whether it's not safe to cast. So yeah, Omnibar is also good for tracking defensive cooldowns as well. Stuff like Dispersion or Unending Resolve or Parry or any type of wall. Bart Skin is also good. And it basically gives you an idea of who is the best kill target to kill. Because if someone has no trinket, and you could tell from Gladius, and they also have no parry or they have no unending resolve, obviously they are a solid kill target choice. And Omnibar just makes it easier to kind of track these things and make the best decision that you can whilst you're playing the game. Another add-on that is super important is obviously Omni CD, and I'm going to be showing you an example here. And what this does is it tracks your teammates' defensive cooldowns. This is so important as a healer, because obviously earlier I was talking about holding your trinket, and the reason you need to hold trinket is because you want to trust your teammates to press their abilities first. And using Omni CD, you can do this so easily. You can see whether they have Bart Skin, you could see whether they have Ice Block, you could see if they're on Forbearance, and they're a Ret Paladin and they don't have bubble for 5 seconds, so you need to trinket swap. And you could see all these things, and it's going to make your decision making so much better, and you're going to gain so much rating from it as well. Yes, there are going to be times where your teammates don't press their cooldowns and they die. That's not your fault. That's not your fault. That's just the way it is. Obviously, if you're playing solo shuffle and it's no voice, people are going to choke, people are going to make mistakes. They're only human. But if you keep this up, you will increase rating. Okay, so I use Tell Me When as well. Tell Me When's a solid add-on. It just makes you being able to track buffs and abilities, and it's really solid. I use it to track my tier set 4 procs and also my blue dragon soul stacks. You can see that just above my heal icon here. Yeah, solid add-on. I would recommend it. Another add-on that is really important, and I've only recently started to use it, is Gladiator Losser. And what this add-on does, it basically announces when someone is casting a certain spell. And the reason I got this is to improve me avoiding CC as much as I can. So usually it kind of announces every spell that's being cast in the game, and it's just utter crazy. But I removed everything that wasn't crowd control. So say if a mage is casting Polymorph, it will say Polymorph. Or an evoker's casting Sleepwalk, it will say Sleepwalk. And then it gives you time to instantly just def someone, and then you'll def their CC. This is a really good add-on to have to kind of help you def crowd control or avoid it with Fade or even Spirit. Okay, next is Weakauras. I have lots of Weakauras because I play lots of classes. So the only Weakauras that I really have and that I would recommend is the Guardian proc one. That will tell you when your Guardian's procced and basically lets you know that you're not going to have it for the rest of the game, or at least for 3 minutes. And then I have a Ray of Hope Weakaura as well, which is really good, but obviously I don't play Ray of Hope. If you were to play Ray of Hope, I would definitely recommend that you use this as well. Traps a solid Weakaura as well. Basically, when you have a hunter on top of you or far away and he throws a freezing trap, it will make a funny noise, letting you know that it's coming, so you have time to def it as well. Friendly intervene as well. This lets me know when a warrior has used intervene on me. Yeah, that's pretty much wraps it up for Weakauras. We're going to be talking about macros now, which is probably one of the most important parts of this guide. So you want to be having Arena 1, 2, 3 Chastise. So important for Holy Priest. That's just something that you need. It's the best way to get out quick chastises. You don't have to think about it. And also it's good to chastise people from stealth as well. Say you're playing RMP and a Resto Druid comes out of stealth, you can chastise him and set up a swap go on him with that chastise as well. So Arena 1, 2, 3 Chastise, I really recommend that you get it, and I have it on shift 1, 2, 3 to make it easy. I have a mouse over power infusion macro, so I just have to hover over my target and press it, which is really good. I have an app player Angelic Feather, which basically means that when I press Angelic Feather, I don't need to place it, it just places it below me. I have stop casting macros for all of my abilities, more or less, because obviously Fade, you want to be using it as soon as you press it. So I have stop casting for pretty much most of my abilities, and I recommend you get the same, like Dispel and also Leap of Faith. I have a Cancelaura Spirit of Redemption macro for Void Shift, and there is a tactic that where you're in Spirit of Redemption, you could be pumping heals, but they're dying anyway through all the damage. Then you can press this macro, it will life swap them, but you won't actually get the lower health. So it will life swap you, but you'll still be 100% health because you were in Spirit of Redemption. So that's good to know, although you don't get much value from it because you don't really want to be using Void Shift in Spirit of Redemption. Holy Word Sanctify, I have a cursor, so I don't have to place it, I just use it on my cursor. I have a, okay, so this is quite an important macro. So when you're a leader in a group, I have this macro here, which basically is a cursor light well macro. And if you're the leader, it will also create like a yellow halo around it as well to make it more obvious for your teammates. So that's important, and I'll leave that in the link in the description. But to do this, you do need to be the leader in the group. So if you're in a solo shuffle game and you want to make use of this, then you have to ask your teammates to be the leader. Oh, and also one really important macro is obviously Fast Shadow Word Death. And this is also a cancel form macro. This is really good because you could be in Spirit of Redemption and a hunter could place a trap on you, and you'll know it from the Weakaura trap because you can hear the sound and you can like see it. Or maybe a mage casts his Ring of Frost around you. If you're not on global cooldown and you press this macro on an enemy, then it will def as soon as you leave Spirit, and you will then def the Ring of Frost or trap. So that's really important. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up the macros, and I'm going to be talking a little bit about my UI as well, because a lot of people have been messaging me asking for my UI and saying it's clean. So in terms of like my bars, I mean, I just use the Blizzard default one. So I use 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so this is pretty much my party frames. I use raid style frames and I make them the biggest. And I also use display class colors as well, and also display pets, because then you could see your hunter's pet and know if it's dying or not. And then obviously in game with Gladius, I just align it so that it is symmetrical with my raid frames. So yeah, there's nothing special about my UI at all. Okay, so that pretty much wraps up my guide, and I'm going to wrap this up by going over a game, because in my first guide, a lot of people wanted to see examples. So I'm going to be commentating one of my games, and I'm going to be explaining why I did certain things, and kind of just explain my thought process around it. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so right now, the Preservation Evoker has his stacks, and we want to be purging those as soon as possible. That is our main goal for the first 20 seconds of this game, or even 10 seconds. And we want to be doing this before they get big pressure out. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so the DK gripped me in. He didn't blind me, but I managed to get a fade off, and I faded the sweep. And I'm instantly going in Spirit. This is because it's on Serenity, it's on the whole DK's pop. It's their biggest damage, right? So I himmed all their damage.
Mid sweep.
Yeah, good. I can see here that my druid has pressed spark skin. Yeah. And I'm just spamming out the hills.
I send it now.
Yeah.
I'm silent here. Yeah, good. I'm purging.
I'm gonna rip him, okay?
So I saw that my Boomy was using Frenzy Regeneration, so I thought it would be a good time to try and purge and get rid of the stacks.
I'm gonna rip him.
Okay.
Fake kick, full
Guardian
clone
here.
rip him.
I got all the stacks, and it got a bit scary, so I Guardian the Boomy. I'm blinded, I'm blinded. You got Guardian though.
I'll stun out of this. Never mind, after this.
Sure.
Can you?
Stun a healer.
I can.
Maybe
I can.
off it. I got it. No, I didn't.
I wanted to fear here, but the DK did a really good asphyxiate on me, so he denied that. But my Boomy got the Cyclone on him anyway, I believe.
You're sending DK.
How did I not get it?
I could fear maybe.
I full clone. Don't worry.
You're in trouble maybe.
Monk might be good.
Okay, it's important to note right now, my Druid doesn't have Bart skin, and my DH has just used their wall. So right now I'm thinking, right, I need to get a Symbols of Hope off soon, so I can get their walls back.
Kiting them a little bit. Kiting the monk.
The Monk gets a little low here, and I think maybe he can just die, so I decide to DR stun him, and also to get my 2 Holy Fires off.
We got wall.
I stun him, DR.
Careful.
I'm on DK again.
I fake kick. So I faked kick here, as you can see. I stun him, DR.
Careful.
So I have no Serenities left. I'm in Apotheosis. I really want to be casting Flash Shield to get my Serenities back. If I get kicked here, it will be really bad for us. So it's really important I faked here. I faked kick. And then I also faked the Monk here as well.
You ready?
Yeah. I can climb monk full.
You got skin back now. So even though
Yeah.
there was only 10 seconds left on skin, I knew that they were going to pop their damage, so I used Symbols, and I only needed to use it for a split second to get his bark skin back.
Cool.
You got skin back now.
I can bash clone healer, okay?
I can
oh
incap
my god,
healer.
trolling. Yeah, do it.
Yeah, I can.
Fine. I bash healer.
Notice how I'm keeping my distance as well with my positioning. I don't want to be gripped in at all, so I'm just trying to like max distance, heal from safety, really.
Maybe you fear.
I don't have it.
Yeah, okay, don't worry.
I fade
Yeah,
that.
it's good.
So he gripped me here and I faded it. That's because I wasn't sure whether he would blind it or he would try and stun it. He does have leg sweep. Trouble. Nice, good sweep. I grip you so he doesn't cleave.
I clone him low. Got kicked.
So it's important to grip versus Windwalker Monk when he gets a double stun because he will be cleaving damage otherwise, and by you gripping someone it means that his damage is halved.
Clone monk maybe? Full clone monk? I can rip him healer, okay?
I'm blinded here, blinded.
If you can do that, I can kidney out of it.
Yes.
Sure.
Kidney
Trouble.
out.
Attack.
It's important to tell your team if you're on voice when they're in trouble. So obviously I was in blinded here and I got into a sleep,
Yes.
or I was in stun into a sleep, and I could see that my druid has no cooldowns, but my DH has dark, and obviously I have trinket swap still, but I just want to make sure that my Boomy and my DH aren't going to press something before I do. Trouble. It's really important to kind of communicate these things. Good dark. And then my DH does a really good dark, and that saves us.
Good.
I could fear.
Okay.
So I said I could fear here, and then I realized that he's on sleep. He's on sleepwalk DR. I don't even know how that's... Oh, from reverse. I was going to say I don't even know how that's possible. But my DH obviously reversed sleep, and that DR'd it, which wasn't great. I only realized it as I was about to press fear, but I thought it'd be worth to do it anyway.
I rip him off,
DR
okay?
though. I stun DK.
Careful.
I rip him. Kill him.
Got
Communion.
communion.
I'm swept here, swept. So I could have defed that. It's pretty obvious versus Windwalkers when they want to use their in-cap on you. And it's really easy to def it. Definitely something that you should be looking out to do.
I just stunned him to stop the damage.
Do you have Innovate?
Yeah, I clone him. Yeah.
Also versed Boomy. I also didn't mention this, but I also have a tell me when for Innovate as well. When they use Innovate from you, you really want to be using it on either Lightwell, like I just did there, because that uses a lot of mana, and you also want to be using it on Flash Heals almost exclusively to get back your Serenities. Give it.
I have damage in 10 seconds, okay?
I def. So here, obviously I have Gladiator Losser, and that I wouldn't have seen it otherwise, but it said sleepwalk, so I just instantly defed, and then I managed to def this really quick.
Clone him. Yeah, yeah.
Give it.
I have damage in 10 seconds, okay?
I def sleep.
I got kicked. We need to try and get these stacks right now. But I can't really. I come to you.
I'm trying. I got them.
Huge.
So I had to make a decision here. Obviously, the Death Knight is still pumping. He has his Unholy Frenzy up, and the Preservation Invoker, he has his immunity stacks. And I decided that it's more important to purge the stacks right now than to heal my Boomy, because I know that we're not going to win the game whilst he has them, or we're not going to win the game, or we're not going to create any pressure whilst he has those stacks. So I decided that I can purge them, and then if my Boomy takes too much damage, I can either life swap, or also my Spirit of Redemption is coming up in 4 seconds. I'm trying. I got them.
Huge.
Here are you?
Anything on here?
I hear this. So obviously I saw the Death Knight grip me, and I instantly casted Spirit of Redemption, and he swept it, so I was managed to heal throughout the whole of this.
Yeah.
You're fine.
We win this now, by the way.
And notice how I'm literally using Flash Heal every go ball to try and regain my Serenity stacks.
I bash healer. If I fake him, I'm god.
I send it now.
Full clone.
So I saw Sleepwalk here. I actually faded it, but my Boomy got a nice clone on him as well. I fear.
We have Incon in 3 seconds, okay? Can we go healer with stun?
I'm blinded here. Blinded.
I'm in trouble though.
You're okay.
Got the sleepwalk.
Let's go
Nice,
healer,
well done.
really hard.
Yeah, I stunned him. So my Boomy said go healer really hard. I saw I had Chastise, so I just stunned
I
him.
don't care.
And we forced Trinket.
Back on DK?
Yeah, I stunned DK. And obviously I'm apotheosising. And when you apotheosis, it's important to stay offensive as well. So if there is someone you can stun, you want to stun them.
I fake monk, full clone. Kill on DK now, kill DK, 100%.
And then I see here that the monk has no stun DR. He's really low, so we could just kill him. Go monk, monk.
Spell me.
Nice. So I'm going to go back here and talk a little bit about it. Okay, you're okay.
Got the sleepwalk.
Let's go
Nice,
healer,
well done.
really hard.
So notice how in this 10 seconds, I chastise someone 3 times. I first stun the healer.
I don't care. He's not in thing.
I then press Apotheosis.
Yeah, I stun DK.
And then I stun DK. And I'm using these instant Holy Fires to get back my Chastise, yeah? So you get 2 instant ones. If you use both instant ones and then cast 1 extra one, then you have your stun back.
I fake monk, full clone. Kill on
So I have stun back now, and then I want to kill Monk,
Go monk, monk.
Spell me.
and he just dies. So I hope that's a good example as to how I kind of play my games. I have actually uploaded this video on my YouTube, and it has 52 minutes of arena gameplay. So it would be good for you guys to see how I kind of actually play games. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up my Season 4 Dragonflight Holy Priest guide. If you have any questions whatsoever, please leave them in the comments. But you could also check out my Twitch. I'm going to start streaming regularly, and I'll leave a link in the bio. So yeah, I hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you in the next video.